So this isn't the official start of my NFL podcast. I want to wait and see if the season is actually going to happen. I think it will, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens with the NBA season, the MLB season. And I didn't want to start the podcast and every week talk about, is the NFL season going to happen for 10 to 20 minutes? I want to talk about like the NFL news, trades, things like that, previewing games or viewing games, and just talking about, is the NFL season going to happen? Not very interesting. And I want to see what you guys, like what your reception is to this podcast. I did put up that poll on my community page on my YouTube channel. Had 900 votes. We got 75% saying, yes, Lane, I do want to see you do a podcast. So that's what this is going to be today. Kind of like a pilot for a TV show. This is going to be the pilot for my podcast. Even though pilot for TV shows typically get canned, and I'm not going to can my own podcast. I mean, I could talk into a mic for hours and hours and hours, but we're going to see how this is going to go. Now, typically for the podcast, I am going to want to bring in a co-host. I didn't think that was necessary for the first episode. Might as well do it myself in case I can't find a co-host, get the rhythm for how we're going to do this and all that. I'm not sure what day of the week I'm going to do it. I'm not sure what the name of the podcast is going to be, but that's really not all too important. When I get the news the NFL season is going to happen, that's when I'll launch it up. I have ideas for the name, but we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Jamal Adams demanding a trade. Now, Schefter did tweet out the 7 teams he wants to go to: Ravens, Cowboys, Texans, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, and the Seahawks. I also heard rumors maybe the Buccaneers, because he wants to go to a contender. They got Brady and Gronk, so that immediately makes them a contender. And I don't really know how to feel about this, because I could see him going to the Ravens. They don't have to pay Lamar Jackson probably for 3 years, right? They're going to do it in 2, but probably for 3 years. The Cowboys, I know he wants to go there. He's from Texas, so that would make a lot of sense. The Texans, I wouldn't really call them a contender. Maybe that's just my opinion. Bill O'Brien is tanking that team so much. That Hopkins trade for David Johnson doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'll never understand what he is doing down there in Houston, and I don't even know how he hasn't got fired. It doesn't make any sense. Now, for the Chiefs, that could make a ton of sense, but I don't think they have the cap space. I did bring up the cap space for all these teams because, I mean, if you're trading for Adams, you're going to sign him long term. That's the whole point. I think the Jets want like 2 first-round picks, which I don't think is going to happen. I mean, it could. The Tunsil trade got 2 first-round picks. I think they got a few more years out of Tunsil, but for the Chiefs, it says right here, they have $13.7 million. Obviously, the cap space goes up every single year, and all these teams are going to have a ton of cap space, but I don't really see the Chiefs happening. And then you have the Eagles, which maybe, but once again, I just don't see it. Then we have the 49ers, which would make a lot of sense because I don't know how long Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be there long term. Kyle Shanahan is a great head coach. And then we have the Seahawks, who could definitely use some help in that secondary, in my opinion. And it, kind of bringing back the Legion of Boom. I don't know if that's going to happen. It really depends if the Jets want 2 first-round picks. If that's like, we want that or else, I don't know what team would be willing to give that up. Maybe the Ravens, maybe the Cowboys. The Texans, just take them out of the equation. They have, doesn't make sense. They're not doing that. The Chiefs, I mean, maybe they just won a Super Bowl. They're going to be great because they have Patrick Mahomes. But they have a bunch of players, they have to pay Patrick Mahomes, which that's going to cost them a ton of money. Probably 7 years, $300 million, $400 million, something insane like that. So I don't see that happening. If I had to pick one of these 7 teams taking out the Bucs, I think I'd say Ravens, because they don't have to pay Jackson for 2 years, so you can extend Jamal Adams right now, kind of work with the cap space as they have. But let's take a look at the cap space. So the Ravens have $19.23 million. This says, just going by what I found on the internet, I have a bunch of articles and stuff pulled up. So 19.23. The Cowboys have 19.5. We're going to get to Dak Prescott in a second, by the way. They have to worry about that contract, and they paid Elliott. A bunch of stuff I don't agree with. It does say the Texans have 49.3. They probably opened up a ton of money by trading Hopkins away, so still should have got a first-round pick. The Chiefs, we already went over. The Eagles have $27 million, but they have a bunch of players they're going to have to pay. A lot of those guys are getting older. They're going to want big cut. A whole thing. The San Francisco 49ers have $15 million, and then the Seahawks have $14 million. So they all have enough space where they could extend them, I would assume, because let's see what Jamal Adams is getting paid right now. He is getting paid, where is it? For this year coming up, he is getting paid $3.5 million. Next year is $9.8 million. But I imagine like most players that are about to become free agents, you just kind of rip that up. You're like, well, I understand you want your $9 million, but let's just rip that in half, throw it out the door. Let's find something that works for you, something that works for us. And then it's kind of like the same with the Texans. They traded so much for Laremy Tunsil that when he becomes a free agent, they're going to have to give him basically whatever he wants. And I imagine the Texans are just like, are they on his list because he thinks they're a contender, which I think is insane? Or is he on the list because he's from Texas? He's from Louisville, Texas. I'm not exactly sure where that is, like compared to Houston or compared to Dallas. I'm not quite sure. But I just want to take the Texans out of it. The Chiefs, I think I'm going to take out of it as well because I don't think they have the cap space. There was all those rumors going around that they had, like $177 in cap space, which is like, how do you even get to that point? Maybe that happens all the time and you just don't hear about it, but that just seems insane. The Eagles, I want to take off the board. So I think it's down to Ravens, Cowboys, who he wants to go to a lot. There were that article, the rumors going, it's probably not rumors, the article going around that someone saw Jamal Adams out in public and they're like, oh, go to the Cowboys. He said he's working on it, even though. I mean, what does that mean you're working on? You're not doing anything other than like not sticking to your contract, which I understand. You're an NFL player. You get beat up. You might not make it long term. So I understand why you want to get your money. The same for the running backs, even though any team that pays a running back like the Cowboys, I don't get it. Other than Christian McCaffrey and maybe Kamara, I don't know if there's another running back I would pay. What Elliott made is insane. I think any running back that you throw into the Cowboys is going to do great behind that offensive line. Even though I did see some rumors for Adams that for the Cowboys, they want a first-round pick and Collins, the right tackle. I don't know if the Cowboys would be willing to do that. I don't know if it's the worst idea in the world. I want to take a look. What is Collins' contract? Collins' contract. Let's see it. Did he just get an extension? Oh, that might have just happened. Which, if that's true, oh, never mind then. Why was that even a rumor? Or maybe he signed it last year. It might have been last year. He's making 9.9 this year. Then 8.5, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. I mean, there's no way. Maybe they'll trade him if they're getting desperate or like, if they say like Adams for Collins straight up, maybe they'll do that because I think that is a win. At least in my opinion, because that offensive line is so good that losing Collins, which he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but losing him, I could lose him, pick up Jamal Adams with that offense, with that defense. In theory, they should make it to the Super Bowl and maybe lose to the Chiefs or beat the Chiefs. But, I mean, we're going to get to Dak Prescott in a second. Not a big fan of Dak Prescott and what he wants for money. But if you made me pick right now, I think I'm down to Ravens, Cowboys. Ravens, imagine Earl Thomas and Jamal Adams. Now, Tony Jefferson's good. Don't get me wrong. But I would love to see that duo. That's kind of like a new Legion of Boom. I'm just saying. I mean, I know Adams and Cam Chancellor. I don't know if they're the same type of player. Adams is probably way better than Chancellor, which make it even better Legion of Boom. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, he's probably not going to get traded because there's a lot of things coming out that Adam Gase wants to hold on to him, which I'm kind of under the philosophy that if a player wants to go, he's going to go eventually, unless something drastic happens. Maybe the Jets becomes just some great team, which that would really depend on fixing that offensive line, which they got Becton. Maybe that happens, but the rest of it's not great. They don't have great receivers, even though they did get Denzel Mims. I think he's going to be a great player, and they still have a lot of work to do on defense, so he wants to get out. Get whatever you can for Jamal Adams. Just ship him out of town. I know that's kind of weird as a head coach and with your GM because if your team doesn't play well, then you get fired and all that. It's kind of a weird situation, but just ship him out. If I guess it's a bad thing, a precedent to set. That's the word I'm looking for. If a player comes to you and he's like, I want out, if you're just like immediately like, all right, let me pick up the phone, let me call somebody, just ship him out of town for whatever. But for Jamal Adams, you're gonna get at least a first round pick. I could see a team going like a first. I kind of want to look up. Let's see, what do the Jets want for Jamal Adams? I want Jamal Adams on the Jets. Nobody really cares what you want. There's nothing really about it, but I know Jamal Adams likes the idea of joining the Cowboys. You say. I mean, we'll get to the Cowboys, but I don't really see it, but I've heard a lot of rumors they want 2 first-round picks, and I just don't know. What's the last team that traded? Do you have the Tunsil trade? Probably before that's the Khalil Mack trade. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think he's staying at the Jets, and then he's just going to walk away, which is insane. Or he's going to the Ravens or the Cowboys. Because the Ravens, you might as well, when you have your quarterback on the rookie deal, you might as well load up on free agents, trades, everything you can. Because once you pay the quarterback a crazy amount of money, which I don't know if Lamar Jackson would be worth the millions and millions and millions of dollars he's going to get paid. Because now, I feel like maybe 5-10 years ago, all these quarterbacks weren't getting like huge contracts. Some of them, like Brady, Cousins, they were taking somewhat of like a, hey, we'll help you out. We understand you need to sign free agents. You need to get players that help the team. So if I get huge contracts, it doesn't really make sense. I have an article up here talking about how much the top quarterbacks are getting paid. Like Wilson, $35 million. Roethlisberger, $34. That's insane. Goff, $33.5. Insane. Rodgers, $33. That makes sense. Cousins, don't even get me started on Kirk Cousins. Wentz, $32 million. Prescott just signed the cap, $31.4. Ryan, $30. Tannehill, $29.5. And Garoppolo, $27.5. Now, let's just move on from Jamal Adams. Like I'm saying, either staying at the Jets, Ravens, or the Cowboys. But Dak Prescott just signed the franchise tag, whatever you want to call it, the one-year tender worth $31.4, which good for him. But like all the rumors coming out of how much money he wants is absolutely insane. I heard one offer that he got like $35 to $40 million a year, and he said no. Like Dak Prescott, I hate to break it to you. I don't think you're that great. And I know that's going to annoy Cowboys fans. I understand, but when you're surrounded by so much talent, an incredible amount of talent, it's almost impossible to fail. When you have that offensive line, when you have that running back, when you have Cooper now, I mean, he wasn't, let's pull up the stats while we're at it. So we don't talk just randomly, I guess is the best way to put it. So his rookie year, 3,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Awesome. Don't get me wrong. But rookie quarterbacks, they can kind of come out of nowhere, catch people off guard. Elliott had a great year. Then you get to 2017. He had 3,300 yards, so a drop off there. 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Now, I forget exactly when they got Amari Cooper. I thought it was in 2018. No? That sounds right in my head. But I'll pull it up really quick just to make sure. Yeah, 2018. So he doesn't have Amari Cooper, goes 22 and 13. And I believe they picked up Cooper week 8? Oh, wait, he was... Oh, no. When was he traded? Was he traded before? Oh, no, 2018 season. It doesn't tell me which week, but I know it was somewhere. I thought it was mid-season, but maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. Amari Cooper trade. It's not going to tell me. Just tell me a date. Not asking for that much. Let's see. October 27. Yeah, so that's the middle of the season, right? You guys are going to tell me I'm wrong. But he comes aboard. That means Cooper goes up to 3,800 yards, basically 3,900 yards, 22 and 8. I would say that's a bump because of Amari Cooper. Granted, first year, 23 and 4. I'll give you that. And then 2019, when he has Amari Cooper, he has Gallup, wins back. We won't talk about that, but Jason wins back. That offensive line, as good as ever. He goes 4,900 yards plus, what is the offensive coordinator's name? Oh, it's going to slip my mind. Good thing we have Google. Let's go Cowboys offensive coordinator. It's going to annoy me. Kellen Moore, that's it. I thought I was going to say Keenan Moore, but obviously that's wrong. So Kellen Moore comes aboard, who not a great quarterback. I'll give you that. But Dak Prescott, 4,900 yards, 30 and 11 with a different, offensive coordinator, which helps. Still have Jason Garrett, which he's gone now, so we'll see how that goes with Mike McCarthy and all that. But the amount of money these mediocre quarterbacks want, which I understand wanting, but at some point, let me put it this way. When you go to the negotiation table, you go with, I want this much. So let's say Prescott goes there and he goes, I want $45 million. And Jerry Jones goes, really? Is that what you want? You want $45 million? He's like, I'm about in, let's say, so they gave what, 31.4, I think I said was the tender or whatever. Yeah, 31.4 is the franchise tag, which I have to imagine with Wilson making 35, Roethlisberger 34, which is the most recent one to sign. I know Tannehill 29.5, but that's not a great example. Let's say Kirk Cousins, right? Maybe Jared Goff 33.5. I could easily argue that Goff should make more, or Prescott should make more than Goff, should make more than Cousins, who are both 33 and 33.5 million. So let's just say Jerry Jones is like 35 million, 5 years, 4 years, whatever you want to do, and have the balls to be like, nope, that's not happening. I want 45 million. You need some wiggle room. I understand you want to make your money. You only in the NFL for so long. You're not a great quarterback. Who said that? But at some point, if you think you're a good quarterback, if you want to have a good team around you, that offensive line, they just got CeeDee Lamb now, you need to be smart about it. And I just don't, I think he's, I don't want to say full of himself, because at some degree, your agent talks to you, your family talks to you, your friends are pumping you up, which I understand. If you have friends, you're a quarterback in the NFL, they're going to be like, oh, you're so great. I can't imagine Prescott had, like, if I was Prescott's friend, I'd be supportive. At the same time, be like, you were not good, you weren't great before Amari Cooper showed up. You were good, but you were not great. You were not $40 million great. Let's just be honest. Like Wilson, he's worth $35 million. Roethlisberger, whenever he signed that contract, we can find that out really quickly. He was worth that contract. Goff, the Rams out of their mind. Rodgers, I understand. Cousins, the Vikings were desperate. I understand why they did it. I wouldn't have done it. Cousins is one of those quarterbacks. And one of these episodes, when we finally launch this podcast, I'm going to name every single quarterback and give you my thoughts, whether I think they're good, whether I think they're average, great, god awful, Joe Flacco, just Trubisky, things like that. But Prescott is not worth that kind of money. I feel like you could, let's not say any quarterback, but they picked up Andy Dalton, right? I believe that's correct. Yeah, for the Dallas Cowboys. If Prescott gets injured, I think Andy Dalton will play better than Dak Prescott. And I can already see like Didi and all these Cowboys fans just getting upset, being like, oh, Dak Prescott's great. But think how many teams with mediocre quarterbacks that have great years say that kind of stuff. I have a friend who's a Ravens fan who talked about Joe Flacco like he was the greatest quarterback of all time. No, that's exaggerating. I exaggerate sometimes, but talking like he was a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterbacks even insane. And it's just like, that's not true. Like, what are we talking about here? Yeah, I think I understand why you franchise tag Dak Prescott. Don't get me wrong. But at some point, if he keeps being an a-hole about it, you're going to have to just cut bait. And I understand that's hard. I said the same thing when Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl. I understand why they wanted to pay him. But they would have, who knows what else they could have done if they just let Joe Flacco walk out the door, if they franchise tag Joe Flacco for 1 year, then let him walk out the door unless he plays incredible again, which if that happened, it's just like, at that point, after 2 years of that, okay. But the way Joe Flacco is going, I'd have this argument with my friend all the time. I should remember these Joe Flacco stats just like off the top of my head. But let's just bring up Joe Flacco. If I like doing anything, it's talking about Joe Flacco. Let's see. They won the Super Bowl, I feel like, was it 2014? It could have been, I could just go backwards. So the Chiefs won, Pats. Who won it between the Pats and the Eagles? That's right. And the Pats again. Broncos? Pats? So maybe 2013. But even, like, that doesn't really matter. Let's look at Flacco's stats. First year, 14-12. God awful. 21-12, a little bit of improvement. Okay. 25-10. Kind of going upwards. I'll give you that. 20-12. All right, a little bit of a drop-off. Not the end of the world. 22-10. But then 19-22. Like, when do red flag just start, like, shining, going off in your head? Like, at that point, I'd be like, all right, something's up here. 27-12. So maybe you're like, all right, 19-12. That was a fluke. We don't know why that happened. Maybe it was the offensive coordinator. Sure. 14-12 is, after that, not good. How in a he only played 10 games. So that makes sense. That's unfortunate. But 10 games, 14 touchdowns. So I suppose that's not terrible. 20-15. 18-13. Like, if they just cut bait on him, they would have been so much better off. Maybe they wouldn't have got Lamar Jackson. So maybe you look at it that way. But at the time, you can't look at it like that. So that's what I would do as a Cowboys GM. If I was Jerry Jones, which I understand he kind of runs it as like a pet project, like something I do on the side. I'm a billionaire. I'll just have some fun with this, which who could blame him? I would do that if I could do that any day of the week. But they got to cut bait on Dak Prescott if he is not going to meet you in the middle somewhere. If he meets you in the 30 to 35 million range, sure. If he wants 40 plus, I would cut and run so fast. So fast. And I know people are going to disagree with that. That's fine. I understand that. But at some point, you got to be like, you're not worth that kind of money. So the next thing I really want to talk about is the top free agents left on the market. The first one we have is Cam Newton, which I'm not sure what his injury status is. If he's not injured, if he's ready to go, he's still a risk because I feel like unless they don't use him like they used him in Carolina, which would be fair, but that's kind of like his thing that was coming out of college, which is why I think Lamar Jackson, which he runs a little bit different. He doesn't go like Cam Newton might as well have been a running back. They just like ran him right up the middle, just like deal with it, get hit, all that. Lamar Jackson, more of a finesse kind of guy. But you have to imagine a quarterback in the preseason, at the beginning of the season, is going to get hurt. And somebody's going to be calling Cam Newton, somebody's going to be calling Kaepernick, who definitely deserves a chance. I understand why when he first kind of got blackballed out of the league, even though, I don't know if blackball is the right word. He had an okay final, like before he got benched from Blaine Gabbert, which that should say something, to be honest, but I understand not wanting to bring in Kaepernick as your backup guy because he's going to bring the media circus. You don't really want to deal with that. But at the same time, he's definitely better than all the backups in the league. I shouldn't say all the backups. Maybe not Andy Dalton. Who else is a backup at the moment? Like is Nick Foles a backup? I don't know. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens with the Bears. But I could see Cam Newton get picked up by definitely a team that gets somebody injured. I could even see the Bears. That would be so interesting because I think the Bears have such a good team. I don't think Nick Foles is the answer. Mitchell Trubisky shouldn't even be in NFL. Like he could be a punt, like a long, not a long snapper. That's not the word I'm looking for. Yeah, a kick holder. That's the word I'm looking for. He can also, the field goal kick. So that's fine if he wants to do that. It's pretty expensive what he's getting paid, but I would bring in Cam Newton to the Bears, honestly. Trying to think of another team that he would make a lot of sense for. Like you could argue the Pats, but we really don't know what Belichick is doing, so we're going to have to wait and see how that's going to play out. So I do think at some point he's going to get signed. Now, Clowney, there are some rumors I heard right before I started recording this that he might go to the Cowboys, which that would be interesting. But it's saying top landing spots for Clowney. This is the article I pulled up. It has the Cowboys, it has the Giants, it has the Colts. Now, the Colts have so much cap space, it's insane. I think next year they have like $140 million, something like that. I'm not sure what players are going to be free agents after next year. We're going to have to wait and see. I could pull up a list right now, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Of those three teams, it seems like if the Cowboys don't get Adams, they could get Clowney. That'd be so interesting. I don't think Clowney's this game-changing end. I don't really understand. He went first overall, correct? I forget exactly what happened in that draft because there was somebody that could have went. I don't know why am I blanking? I want to say Reggie Bush, but I feel like that's wrong. I forget who went second overall. 2014. It's definitely not Bush. That was way long ago. Oh, who am I thinking of then? What year was that? When was Reggie Bush? That's so bad because I thought there was some player that got picked before Reggie Bush, correct? There's an offensive lineman. Not offensive lineman. It's a defensive lineman. 2006. Well, I was off by 8 years. Pretty good. Very knowledgeable about football. Mario Williams. That's it. That's why I got messed up. They both went to the Texans. It's bad. Me saying 2014, but it's not like you kind of get what I'm going at there. But I would the Cowboys would be interesting to watch. I understand why they're going all in before they have to pay Dak Prescott a crazy amount of money. Because I know that's what they're going to do at the end of the day. But the Colts make a ton of sense. Unless they're we're satisfied with our team. We want to see, with our crazy amount of money, you're going to get a quarterback eventually, even though I imagine they're going to move on from Phillip Rivers probably after this year. I don't know how Phillip Rivers is really going to play in Indy. We'll talk about that once we launch the podcast officially. But yeah, Clowney to the Giants. There's a lot of things that he wants to go to a contender. I wouldn't call the Giants a contender. I call the Colts a contender, definitely. Cowboys, obviously. And then we got Warford, who got cut by the Saints. That's really going to depend, unless he goes to the Jets or something. That's going to depend on offensive lineman getting hurt. Who just got hurt? Brandon Brooks? He just got hurt, right? That sounds right in my head. It's definitely Brandon Brooks. I'm going to look it up just to make sure. But I'm 100% sure. Yeah, he's out for the season. So that could make sense. Then I don't know if they'll do that. That really depends on how much money he wants. So Warford's going to depend. Logan Ryan being a free agent, that I don't really understand. I thought maybe the Titans would bring him back. And yes, I said that with a little emphasis because people don't like how I say the word, which that's fine. But I could see him going back to the Titans probably at the beginning of the season. And then we have Everson Griffin, which he's kind of up there in age. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. There's a lot of rumors that Josh Gordon might go back to the Pats. Would be interesting. So they could have Gordon if he stays on the field, if he gets reinstated and all that. They have Sanu, they have Edelman, which I can't believe. If I was Edelman and saw Brady and Gronk walk away, I'd be like, you mother. You get what I'm saying. I'd be so upset that they just walked out the door. And it's like, what about me? It'd just be interesting if Brady's like, how do I put it this? Like if Brady was like, I want Gronk's like, I'm ready to go back, but he's like, you got to take Edelman with you. Which I don't know if that would make a ton of sense. I know they have Godwin. I know they have Evans and Gronk now, O.J. Howard. They're kind of stacked, but it would be interesting if they made that play. But Gordon, Sanu, Harry, Edelman, Jacoby Myers, which I'm a Pats fan. I guess I should have mentioned that at the beginning of this. I'm a Pats fan. Typically, I'm going to lean a little bit towards Pats. I think they're going to have a very, very rough year. Which I guess if I said that at the beginning, a lot of people hear Pats fans and they lose their mind. I have a Boston accent. I mean, yeah, I grant doesn't mean much, but if you're from a certain state, typically you're going to be a fan of their sports teams. So it's just the way it's going to be. Then we have Dennard, maybe. Eric Reed, I was very surprised he got cut. Devontae Freeman. I didn't even know you're still a free agent. And whenever I say Devontae Freeman, no one's going to understand this reference because it's part of my community rebuild series. Just one kid was just like, hey, does anybody want Freeman for the whole hour and a half of a rookie draft? Let's see. Is he still? He is still a free agent. Interesting. Isn't he pretty young? 28 years old. I know that's getting up there in running back age, but very interesting. He hasn't been picked up. Rashad Jones, I don't think he's going to get picked up. Peters, I think, is going to end up going back to the Eagles. He just doesn't want to play in the preseason, which is all right. Oh, Jefferson's a free agent? Huh. I could have sworn Tony Jefferson was still on the Ravens, but I guess not. Then you have Cameron Wake up there. There's not, I mean, we're getting further down the list. I'm at like in the 30s now. I don't really see a ton of great players. Clay Matthews, I imagine he's gone, retired. Thompson could get picked up. Darren Lee could get picked up, definitely. But not a ton of players that like definitely before the start of the season without an injury happening is going to get signed. I imagine it's Clowney. I imagine Warford could get picked up by the Jets if we're not waiting on an injury. And then probably Logan Ryan. I don't know the deal with Logan Ryan. Is there any like Logan Ryan rumors? Like I said, I am going to bring in a co-host eventually. He's open to a short-term contract. Oh, Jets unwilling to pay him. Interesting. Logan Ryan considering Jets open to other teams. How nice of you to be open to joining other teams. Like what kind of statement is that? Like, I have a job. I'm willing to work here, but also if someone will pay me, I'll go somewhere else. I'm very open like that. The Jets, it makes a lot of sense. I'm from the area. I went to Rutgers, 20 minutes from there. I understand why you want to go play where you're like from and all that, but at the same time, if they don't want you, they don't want you. So I don't know. But that's basically all we have for the podcast today. It's typically going to be longer than this. I just want to, like I said, get a pilot episode out there. Let me know what you think about this. I'll get better at it as the weeks go. I should days go on. This is going to be a daily podcast. As the weeks go on and all that, I'll get better. If you want to, let me know who you want to see as a co-host. I guess that's the best way to put it. But hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. You can join my Discord. Ask for the link down in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you later.